guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Dana and I do watercolor art. For part 3 of the 5-minute watercolor art tutorials, I'm going to be creating a really wet on wet, loose abstract kind of flower. All of the supplies and tools I use, as always, are going to be listed below. To begin, I'm just taking my number 14 round brush, and as you saw just a second ago, I splashed some water onto the paper in sort of these really loose petal shapes, sort of like you're drawing a sun. And then I grabbed some of the red color and I splashed that on, and I'm just tilting my paper a little bit to allow that color to flow into the water. With a clean, wet brush, I'm just going to touch some of the tips of those petals, as we'll call them, and that's going to allow the color to sort of spread out. And I'm making sure to leave a little bit of white space as I do this, so I'm not brushing the tip along the entire edge of the petal, just certain parts of it. Hopefully that makes sense. Then with some more paint, I'm just really roughly sketching on these sort of wispy additional petals. Using a higher concentration of paint to water, it's going to make the color appear a lot more dense and brighter. I'm just going to keep doing that until I'm happy with the overall shape of my abstract flower. Now taking a more orangey shade of red, I'm just adding that on top of the wet paint, and this is, as I said earlier, a wet on wet technique, so it's going to allow the paint to flow into the previously wet paint. I'm going to take this darker shade. It looks brown in the palette, but it's actually a nice yellowy, olivey yellow color. And I'm just going to very loosely create the center of the flower. And since this is a wet on wet and an abstract painting, I'm not going to worry if those colors start to blend together. And taking my wet brush again, I'm just going to do the exact same thing I did previously with the lighter red color, and I'm just going to drag some of those edges out. Now I'm taking a tissue and blotting up some of the puddles of water that I've got happening here. This is just going to help blend everything together into the background paper. Then I'm just taking a wet brush again and blending out some of those harder edges. While the center of the flower is still wet, I'm going to dab on a little bit of blue, just for a little more interest. And you can watch that spread out so nicely. I'm just going to speed this up and dry this with my hair dryer and a blotting tissue, just to get some of those puddles of water that I don't want. So now that that is totally dry, I'm just taking a darker shade and I'm going to create a little bit of detail in the center of the flower. I'm just doing some really loose brush strokes. And now with the yellow shade, I'm just going to add a couple little dots of pollen to the center as well. Using my hair dryer once again, I'm just going to dry that, and then we can remove it from the board. And once it's totally dry, it's ready for framing. So here is what the finished piece looks like. I hope that you guys liked this tutorial. I would love to see your work, so definitely tag me on Instagram and follow my new art sharing Instagram at Watercolor Weekly. I'll link it right here. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out, and I'll see you in the next one.